So we're looking at paragraph 2. Everybody got me? All right, we're on paragraph 2 of our essay. So the first reason is going to be our focus point for paragraph 2, okay? So here's what I need to bring to your attention. What I'm noticing, and this is every year, the hardest thing for every student to do, they start off with a wonderful topic sentence. And that's when you give the main idea of that paragraph, correct? So let's say that I said that it is better for schools to have more recess, okay? And one of my reasons was because students will have more focus because they get the recess out. So they'll have more focus in class. Now, what I'm noticing is you all are doing a great job giving me that topic sentence and saying something like, the first reason, giving our transition sentence, right? Or first, or to start, the first reason I believe, or the first reason schools, because we want to take I's out, right? So I'm not going to say I believe. The first reason schools should have more recess is because students will have more focus in class. So now I just gave my topic sentence for the paragraph, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Now, here's what's happening. You guys are giving me great evidence, but you're not elaborating and you're not explaining enough, okay? That is causing you to where you're doing everything else so great from being like, let's say it's out of 4 points, you're having a 3 instead of a 4 because you're not elaborating or explaining. So let's look at our anchor chart again so we can make sure that we're following everything that we should be doing. We said the goal is present your first reason and support it with evidence and explanation. Okay, that's wonderful. You guys are giving me evidence. But the bulk of your paragraph cannot be evidence, okay? This is the part that a lot of students are always missing. The explanation part when we're elaborating in our own words, okay? So that's when you need to make sure state reason number 1. And how are we going to be elaborating, friends, in our own words? We're going to add facts, details, definitions, or examples from the sources. Everybody get that? And then you need to explain how the evidence supports your opinion. After you do all of that great stuff, you're making sure that you cite, okay? You're going to credit your sources when appropriate. As we do all of that, here's our wonderful transition words, okay? Because, we're going to use all of our scholarly words and everything. So we're going to start our paragraph by saying something like first. To start, one important reason is, for example, to begin with. Then, when we're adding our evidence, what do we want to do? According to the text, the author states, everybody got that?
Yes.
Then also, when we're explaining the evidence, what are we going to do? We're going to use transition words like this shows, say it, this means, or this proves. Let's look at this sample paragraph together. I want to show you how it uses a topic sentence, which is how we started off, giving our main idea, evidence, and elaboration. And the paragraph starts with, having longer recess will make school better because it helps students focus and learn more in class. Do you see how that's the topic sentence? Good, because that would have been their first reason that they mentioned in their introduction. Everybody get that? So this sentence tells us the main idea of the paragraph, and we're going to make sure we stay focused on that main idea in the paragraph, this particular paragraph. So now next we have the evidence. Do you see the evidence from the passage?
Yes.
All right. It says, the passage explains that when children get fresh air and move their bodies, they often return to their classrooms feeling more ready to learn. Now, here we go. This is a fact from the text that supports our main idea. Now, what I don't want you to do is give me a citation like that, and it says, and also, and go straight into another citation. I think that people feel like they're explaining with another citation, okay? The bulk of your paragraphs cannot be citation. After you give evidence, you must what?
Explain.
How do you explain? By saying what?
This shows, this means, this proves.
And after you explain, you have to give an
example.
And a sentence starter for that is saying for
example.
And you're going to give a real world example. So now we're going to explain the evidence, right? Can't just leave that evidence hanging. We need to explain the evidence by adding. This means that after playing outside, students can pay better attention to their lessons. For example, wow, these are some of our words. Look, for example, you see that? Our transition words. So now we're giving an example. For example, when I have a break to run around, I come back to class feeling less tired, and I can listen to my teacher more easily. This part helps us understand why the evidence is important. You can't just give the evidence and not say why it's important to one of your reasons, okay? How it supports it. You have to explain why that's important and how it supports your reason, okay? It gives more details and connects the idea to real life. Whenever you give an example, everybody get that? When you give an example, you're connecting it to the real world situations because you have to act as though your reader knows nothing. You do. You cannot assume they understand what you're talking about. I apologize, my battery went dead, but it's okay. We're going to continue. We only have 2 more minutes left. So let's keep going. Now that we have just gone over the example, here's the next part I want you to pay attention to. As you notice in the sample paragraph, it starts to say, also, the passage says that schools with extra recess noticed students were less restless and more willing to participate. So now we're adding on with our citation, showing that we have learned what this passage was truly telling us to back up our claim. But we can't stop there with our evidence. We always have to make sure that we elaborate. And one of the great sentence stems to show that we're elaborating is this shows. Remember, we say this shows, this proves, or this means. So let's tell them what it shows. This shows that longer recess doesn't just make kids happy, but it also helps them do better in school. When students are calm and ready to learn, everyone in the class benefits. Now, friends, this is how we would write our body paragraph. It's not that hard. All you needed is a system. So, check this out. For all the people out there, lucky for my students, they get to see me every day. But for those who want this system so that you can help your child write an effective essay, go to the link that's in my description and I will make sure you get the exact system that I use. All right, until next time.